Hello and welcome to episode 324 of the Clean Energy Show. I'm Brian Stockton.
And I'm James Whittingham.
This week, California's My First EV rebate program is a huge hit. Turns out, people like free money. Who knew?
I had an idea. Students at Clemson University have designed a solar car that is completely covered in solar panels, just like Pakistan, but a whole lot lighter.
The world's oldest cheddar cheese maker has switched to using heat pumps. The machines harvest heat from the milk they extract from cows, leading to the term milk source heat pump. When I got into clean energy podcasting, I could have never predicted that the words milk source heat pump would come out of my mouth.
All that and more in this edition of the Clean Energy Show. And I'm going to start us off, Brian, because I got a lot to talk about. In fact, if you're new to the show, there's going to be a lot of personal chit-chat this week. But if you are new to the show, I'd like to know something. Are we talking above your head? Is there too many terms that we've become too comfortable with that you would like explanations every time you hear them? Because our audience is kind of veteran. They've come along with us, but we'd like to have new people not excluded from that because why would we? But so cleanenergyshow@gmail.com. If you continue to listen to the show and you have some thoughts and you're new, we'd like to hear from you. Of course, everyone else too. I'm going to start the show with some sad news. Lots of sad news this week, Brian. So much sad news. It's sad how much sad news we have this week. You know my eagles that I've been watching at Big Bear Lake? Well, the matriarch died and she went to a raptor rehabilitation facility for 3 weeks, and they did more that they would do on a human without health care. I tell you, they brought in experts from across the country because there are hundreds of thousands of people who have an emotional relationship to her. This is from KTLA.
Now at 3:30, we continue to follow breaking news. Beloved Big Bear bald eagle Jackie has died. The Ojai Raptor Center, where Jackie had been receiving care for the last several weeks, announced she passed away early this morning. Jackie has been a SoCal fixture for years. Tens of thousands of people have watched her and Shadow through a live stream of their nest from the Friends of Big Bear Valley. Her death comes as a big loss for nature lovers here and around the world.
Kind of amusing that in LA it's breaking news.
Yeah.
Because people have really got attached to these eagles because for several years they had a really good nest cam and they had another good nest cam sort of pointed at the tree so you could see how they did. And they raised a couple of, chicks this year that were just fledged and went on their own way. But there's a whole bunch of other young eagles looking for territory and sometimes they fight. They think maybe she got sick before she had got into a fight with a couple of young juvenile eagles. And anyway, it's sad because we thought this would go on forever because they were such a couple, eagles made for life usually, and they have certain personality aspects that we sort of humanize and get amused by.
Yeah, we have these birds around here, burrowing owls, which are a rare species of bird, and they're owls that nest in the ground. Like they burrow into the ground and they nest there, and they're an endangered species, and they're something that we have around here. And there was a recent local news story about a burrowing owl that was saved by the farmer's dog, one of those great stories where like a coyote had picked up the burrowing owl and the farm dog chased off the coyote and then just saved the burrowing owl.
You wouldn't want to see an endangered species nesting on the ground like that. It's like waiting for trouble. Maybe that's why they're endangered. Maybe they should think about that.
They should think about maybe a new home. But yes, this burrowing owl had to go to a local rehabilitation facility, and I think is going to be okay.
And as I said before in the show, watching these eagles from time to time as I eat my breakfast or lunch or pass some time, it's one of those rabbit holes you can go down and just sort of feel like you're in touch with nature. Like, okay, nature is tough. And this is what they're doing. It's snowing on their babies and they're trying to keep them warm and dry. Otherwise they die. And you're not, YouTube is a great way now to get in touch with nature. And I found a whole new way, which I'll talk to after you talk about your stuff. One of those rabbit holes that I went down is kind of funny, but strange. And yesterday I took my Nissan Leaf, my beloved 2013 Nissan Leaf, to the SGI, which is our local government insurance claims adjuster here, and had it assessed. And perhaps that was a mistake, perhaps it was not. But they assessed it to be $8,900 damage, which is going to be more than the value of the car, which means they're going to write off the car. and they're not going to allow me, I won't be able to buy it back, because if I bought it back, I would have to do a safety inspection, and the safety inspection would require, well, I would have to get the heater fixed for sure, the $4,000 job on that, and everything else, and God knows what all, if my high school shop class guys did a good job or not, we don't know. So I'm very distraught about that. I feel a little bit emotional about the car. I would be less so if it were minus 40 out right now, but it is summer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just, I want to slap Clean Energy Show sticker on it before they take it away. But we don't have any. So my options, here's the challenge. We live in a sort of an isolated place of 1 million people spread out over we don't have a lot of EVs here. If you've listened to the show, you know that. In fact, the dealership where we live, the Nissan dealership just started selling EVs. Like I just checked, I've been checking it regularly, and I noticed, okay, they sell EVs now. They don't have any.
Yeah.
But when I left the claim center yesterday, I saw my first Nissan Ariya in our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Or anywhere near our jurisdiction. And I thought, well, maybe that's a sign from God. Maybe it's a sign that everything's, because my Nissan Leaf was the only Nissan EV for years, and then they came up with the Ariya 3 or 4 years ago, and then we haven't seen any around. It's very big, by the way.
Yeah.
Too big, I think, for most people's needs, for my needs for certain. So I'd love to have one. I wouldn't kick it out of bed. The problem is, since we don't have any here, we can't do a market value assessment of them.
Yeah.
So the ones that are available are in markets that have or had huge subsidies, so the market value is lower. If you go to Quebec, Canada, they had huge EV incentives, so the market value of EVs, and that's where I imported it from, because the market value was cheaper. And some people brought them from BC, but even BC is pretty expensive. But since there's a lot more EVs now, the Nissan Leaf prices have come down in BC, I've noticed. I really would like another one. I wish this would work out where they gave me a decent amount of money and I could import another one.
Yeah.
I don't really want to, but I mean, it would have a working heater and maybe cruise control and some things that I didn't have. I would be quite happy with that if I could do that, but I'm not sure that I might be driving a combustion clunker.
Yeah.
And I'm not happy. That's sad. Because even in the winter, as I've said, I enjoy driving that thing because it's an EV and it's,
That was great. My first real car was a 1983 Nissan, and I had that thing for 15 years, and I put, over 200,000 kilometers on it.
It wasn't new when you got it, right?
No, I did buy it new. I bought it new.
Oh, you did? You bought a new car?
In 1983,
wow.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Oh, you had a job.
I had a job.
Good job.
I was working in radio and living at home.
Full time.
I could save up the money.
Full-time-ish?
Yeah, full-time-ish. But anyway, I had it for 15 years. Then it got into a fairly minor accident, but it was 15 years old. So, of course, they wanted to write it off. And they said, okay, well, our offer is we're going to send you a check for, I believe it was $1,500. And
not bad.
Not bad, but I was, prepared to argue. You don't always have to take the first offer from the insurance company if you think they're full of crap.
Yeah.
So, I sort of came back with them and said, well, I'm the original owner. I've really taken care of this car. I think it might be worth more than $1,500. And the reply was, according to our measurements, the car is actually worth less than that, but we're required by law to give you $1,500.
Okay.
Ouch.
So, our Chevy Bolt EV, my wife was actually hoping for a write-off there, but there's no way, because it's pretty new, and their value is, in the $20,000s of dollars between $23,000 and $29,000. So you'd have to have it'd have to be structurally damaged to do that. So that they're going to try and pop out the hail holes on that, and nobody knows how well they do these things.
Yeah.
This is climate change. We had golf ball size hail here, if you're new to the show, even larger than golf ball at times. And so I have no choice now. I have to negotiate with them. And maybe I'm starting to search now, and maybe AI suggested I use the Wayback Machine on Google or the archives to go back and find other listings. And by the way, if anyone across Canada from, say, Victoria to Quebec City has a Nissan Leaf that may be coming up for sale, get in touch or know somebody, because I would be sad not to have an EV. And that really, honestly, there's some Chevy Volts around that maybe seem possible, like the plug-in hybrid, but I would have to get oil changes, and that would be unpleasant. And so we'll see how that goes. But either way, if I get an EV, it'll probably have to be brought in from somewhere else that has a cheaper market value.
All right, got a few things to chit-chat about this week. First of all, I have a few off-topic things that I'm going to save for the next bonus episode, which we're going to record in the next week or so. So they're a bit too far off the topic of clean energy. So I saw The Odyssey, and I have a hot take on that.
Okay. Oof. That's worth buying a membership for.
I saw Disclosure Day, the new Spielberg movie. I have a hot take on that.
Oh, no.
And
These are two movies I want to like, Brian. I don't want you to poo-poo them. I don't think I'll be there for the bonus episode. Somebody else can.
I just said I have a hot take. You don't know. Did I like them or not?
No, I know.
It's a hot take.
I just know. You have a history, though. On this show, you have a history.
And also, I have more complaints about Canadian Airlines and more details about how difficult it is to get a refund out of a Canadian airline, because we were talking about that last week or the week before when there were flights in Las Vegas getting canceled and the airlines were supplying refunds to everybody. Well, I have a story about Canadian Airlines in a similar situation, which is kind of fun. Okay, so back to clean energy. I went down the indoor air quality monitor rabbit hole and got sort of spurred on to finally get one, because you're, of course, constantly monitoring air quality, and this is a big issue. I'm mostly worried about the forest fire smoke, because when that happens, we close all the windows and, we don't put any fresh air into the house. But I don't really know how that's, how well that copes with, that kind of forest fire smoke. So I've only had it for a couple of days. So I'm looking at it. I have one question for you, because I know you are the expert in these things. It does monitor. It's an Air Gradient is the brand.
That's the brand of our outdoor high quality scientific community monitor.
Yeah. So this one, it's the indoor version for that. And it does measure VOCs, but you've sort of mentioned before that VOCs are kind of hard to monitor. Is that correct?
They can get up easily in your house and maybe not be that bad if you're cooking or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. But here's the thing. I've got my Amazon air quality monitor that's outside. It's just an indoor monitor that gives you a VOC, total VOC. You don't know what kind of VOCs they are.
Yeah.
Volatile organic compounds, which can be carcinogenic, they can be neurotoxins, went from an industry, and I live near two industries. And this morning I had an index of 56 out of 100, which, to give you some context, I have my fans on my ventilation turn off when it hits 7. So it was raining this morning and there was no wind. So the toxins from the nearby industry just flood out and are worse in the rain. That's when I was in the hospital and the hospital filled with fumes. It was raining. I wouldn't panic necessarily if it's high, but one thing that comes to mind is you have a lot of construction going on. So
yes,
you have new materials being brought into your house and they may be off-gassing. You don't know that.
Yes, but as near as I can tell from just monitoring it for a couple of days, yes, it does spike whenever we do some cooking. So, there are VOCs that are not bad for you. And so that's what it sounds like the problem is.
I would say less bad for you. A VOC is a VOC, but a cooking, and also it's shorter term exposure, I would say, because they would go away. But they're not neurotoxins from the oil refinery down the street for me. Yeah.
So according to the graph so far, every time we cook, it spikes up and then goes back down to normal. And there's been no forest fire smoke lately. So far, the air quality in my house is very, very good.
Well, that's good. How much was it? Because people have been asking on
it's about $300.
Media.
It wasn't cheap.
It's one of the better ones. You don't screw around, Brian.
Yeah, I went off the wire cutter. I went to the wire cutter and sort of got the one that they recommended there. And it's got a nice web portal thing so you can monitor from anywhere in the world. And then the next step likely is to get an air purifier, which I still don't have yet. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole that's even more complicated than the air quality monitor thing.
Okay, I got mine based on Wirecutter, and I looked at them recently. They're still recommending the same brand, which is, if I can look around, Coway Air Mega.
Yeah.
And it has a little air quality monitor on it, but doesn't tell you anything. It just tells you how bad it is. It's amber or red or green. So when it detects something, like when I walk by, and it's somewhat insulting, it'll kick up the fan speed.
Yeah.
So, but I'm probably kicking up dust from my carpet. It's probably not me. Let's hope.
Well, and when I first started looking at it, I thought, well, maybe I would get a whole house air purifier, which attaches, to the furnace and the blowers and stuff. And that is a thing that you can do, but it sounds like kind of complicated and maybe doesn't work as well as having, smaller individual units around your house. So I don't think I'm going to go that route, but there's still a ton of research to do to figure out which one to get and where I'm going to place it in my house.
How much is a whole house air purifier, and how do they work? Is it UV or something? Or
well, there's an older type called electrostatic, and those came out like decades ago, and those were kind of the first ones. And I don't really understand how it works.
I think they're more for pollen.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff really started for people with allergies. They were the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. So decades ago, we had people with bad allergies were the first ones to start demanding things like air purifiers for the home, which really didn't exist much.
By the way, I have seasonal allergies, and since I had this air purifier, they're gone because it's in my bedroom where I spend a lot of time. Wow. I'm here now in my podcasting, and I prepare for the podcast, the research for the podcast in here, and rest in here, and of course sleep in here. So I can vouch for them.
But the whole house kind, I don't remember the price, but the installation is sort of the bigger deal. And then there's always a danger of kind of screwing up the airflow for your system. So I don't know. It doesn't sound like it's worth it. We already have a heat recovery ventilator hooked into our system. And so theoretically, we could get a purifier that attaches to that, but I don't think I'm going to do that.
So that's interesting too. So your situation makes even more research to go down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Do you have a furnace filter at all?
Yeah, we have a normal furnace filter that's part of the heat pump. Yeah,
part of the heat pump. So the heat pump warms something inside the furnace instead of natural gas or other things or electricity, and it blows off that hot heated fluid and puts it through the house. So it goes through vents in your house. You have a forced air furnace. So you have a filter there. So one thing you can do is upgrade that filter to an expensive one.
Yeah, but then again, the issue of, you don't want to mess with the airflow, right? Like if it chokes off too much airflow, it can mess up your,
It should be okay because they're made to be okay until they get clogged. So the challenge is to set a reminder, electronic reminder to change it you probably should check it every month at first just to see if it's clogging up, but then maybe every 3 months you can just change it and it would do it. I'm thinking of doing that in the summer, and I didn't this year. You know what? We've been very lucky with forest fire smoke.
Yeah, so far this year.
This year. Yeah, we haven't had anything too terrible for too long, but today it's supposed to get bad. I can check my air quality outside, my air visual here, and it is good, 28 on the American Air Quality Index.
Yeah.
So, it's been very good. We've been lucky. I've been blowing air in the house and having a great time. So when it was hot, we had air flowing in our climate from different directions and brought in more smoke from Oregon. And terrible things are happening in BC. I don't want to ignore that. There's 21,000 in British Columbia, Canada that have been evacuated from a fire that may have been human set on purpose.
Yeah.
And that fire went very quickly. And I want to point out that John Valent, the fire weather author, I've got a couple of interviews with him that I found very interesting. And those are on our public Patreon page, patreon.com/cleanenergypod. The link is in your show notes as well. So there's lots of things that I've been putting up there recently, and I'll be putting up some things that will augment this show as well. And we've got lots of free members who are going there this week. I enjoy that. Free members are good too. We enjoy having you follow along what we're doing. Now, here's my rabbit hole, Brian. It's an outdoors thing, much like the eagle's nest, which sort of put me in touch with nature. This is somewhat embarrassing. I've been watching a little old lady go camping by herself.
Okay. A little light stalking? Is that what this is?
No. She brings people along with her to vicariously experience nature. She's in Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada, so it's temperate there year round. It rarely gets below freezing, so she'll camp year round.
Yeah.
And it's pretty chilly to camp in November, December, January, February there, but she still does. And the thing is, no one's around. She's Her husband, the curmudgeon Bob, is not interested in camping. He's only into Taekwondo, and we rarely get to see him, but we get to see her rescue dog, and she will do interesting cooking while she's out there. And you know how, I don't know if you ever camped. Did you camp when you were a kid with your family?
A little bit, not much.
But what happens when you camp is that the food tastes really good because you really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were able to conjure it is a victory in itself. So here's a little clip of Wendy Outdoors. She's 77 from Vancouver Island, Canada.
Okay, I've arrived. Get the tent set up. Got the fire going. Got all my stuff out. Got the bed made. So now I can just sit down and have a drink and a couple of peanut butter cookies that I brought with me from home. So I'm just going to relax for a little bit. Once I kind of feel ready, I guess we're going to start thinking about how the heck we're going to make a blueberry pie.
And she did, though. She did. She has these little portable backpacking stoves and things, and she does a great job turning them into delicious treats like freshly made chocolate chip cookies, which you can't go wrong there. Pastry and all cinnamon buns. She's doing some good cooking out there.
Yeah, well, I always enjoy it when older people like that are making content on the internet because, of course, it's, mostly people under, 50, and certainly maybe under 40 usually. So it's always fun. Is this on YouTube?
Yes, it's on YouTube. Wendy Outdoors is her handle. And she got inspired by other people who were younger than her, but she's learning how to do, she was a nurse. She's learning how to do the things that you and I have been trained to do in film school.
Yeah.
And you can see her evolving. She's getting a lot better at it. And she's, planning cutaway shots and doing, there's lots of tutorials on YouTube, but this is what you need to do. You need to get a GoPro, and she's got a drone, which she hasn't mastered yet, but she's got to... And most parks she goes to don't allow drones, which is kind of sad. You can't even use a drone these days anywhere, it seems. But yeah, it's inspired us to get outside, even in small ways. We've gone outside because we've been watching this, or I've been watching this mostly. But yeah, we've done things. We had a campfire the other night.
When I was getting ready to retire, I got hooked on a YouTube channel called This Is Our Retirement with Tina and Norm. And these were older, retired Canadian people, and it was lots of great information about, what to prepare for. Unfortunately, Norm passed away, which is the problem that can happen when, you have an older content creator. But Tina is still doing the channel, and she's sort of found a kind of a second life in it. And so I thought she might give it up, but she's putting out more content than they did before.
Once you're a celebrity, you don't want to give it up.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Here's another thing we did. We booked a campsite. This is challenging myself. We booked a campsite for around September 20th near my son's city at a so-so provincial park.
Yeah.
That's not really that interesting, but there's not going to be anybody around. Oh, it's a yurt, by the way.
Oh,
it's
nice.
a fully equipped yurt.
Nice.
So I'm not camping. And it does have electrical, so you can put a heater in there. But it could potentially be very chilly at that time of year. It could also potentially be fairly hot, but usually at night it'll be quite cool. And that becomes a challenge for camping, at least for me. So yeah, that'll be challenging myself. And that's one of the things we've done is booked a yurt for 2 nights. They have 2 of them at each of the parks, and you can book them on the weekends. You have to book 2 nights. So it's a short drive for my son to come visit us, to stay with us. And there's some mountain biking there and just chilling in nature, which, like I said before, I'm very excited to have grown adult kids now because as of this year, I can camp in shoulder seasons without a lot of people around, which, camping is a pain in the butt when people are loud and drinking and partying. Yeah. It's just not what you're there for. But in shoulder season, you can get some chill stuff happening. Maybe not on the weekend. So that could be a risk. There could be some partiers going out there the weekend.
From Electrek, California is burning through their My First EV rebate. And we talked about this recently on the show. They only announced it like maybe a month ago. And Tesla has already used up their money. They used up their subsidy in about a week because they still sell a lot of EVs in California. This is $135 million in state funding. And the way it works is the automakers have to match that. So the state's only putting up half. The automakers have to agree to put up the other half in order to get access to this money. So it's $270 million in total. It's for first-time EV buyers only. You get $3,500 off a new EV if it's priced under $15,000. You can do $1,750 off a used EV that is under $25,000. There's no income cap, and the discount is applied right at the point of sale. So there's no application, no waiting. These are the best kinds of rebates, the ones that are easy for people to access. So there's about 13 automakers that are sharing in this money. So it works out to about $9 million in state funding for each of the manufacturers. Tesla, Hyundai, and Lucid were the first brands that had this available. Ford, Rivian, Chevy, and Kia came on a little bit later in August, and Toyota, Honda, and Subaru will start their program up in September. So yeah, Tesla has used up all of their rebates already, but it sounds like they're all still available for all of the other automakers in California.
Well, that's really interesting that they've chosen to go a route that I haven't heard of before. There's lots that we maybe don't know about, but to choose that the automakers have to kick in half of it is very interesting.
Yeah.
In order to get the other half. But, are they monkeying with their pricing? You can't really trust dealerships.
Yeah, that's true. They could just raise the price by whatever the amount there is that they have to kick in.
But Tesla, don't they have national pricing?
Yeah, their prices are the same everywhere. So I don't think. And maybe they're monitoring that to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
so.
Nevertheless, these kinds of programs tend to be very, very popular.
All right. Well, now I'm going to hit on a story that is not something that's going to change the world, not something that's there. Sometimes we like to talk about things that are being tried. And now there is it Amptera that has a solar car that's traveling around getting tested right now?
Yeah, that sounds correct. Yeah, it's going to be a commercial solar vehicle that's very small and
three-wheeler?
Three-wheeler, only seats one or two people, but it's going to be hyper efficient and it has solar panels on it. So, if you're parking it in the sun, you could theoretically just drive on the sunshine all the time.
Well, at Clemson University, students have built an electric car that basically turns the entire vehicle every square inch into a solar panel. It doesn't look like a vehicle. It doesn't look like anything you'd, be driving down Main Street hoping to attract a mate in, but it's orange. The solar panels are orange. It's called Deep Orange 17, and the goal is pretty surprising. Is actually to generate more energy from the sun than the car uses when you're driving, which is unheard of. Usually you want to, supplement it and have a battery and charge it up while you're not driving. But this one, they're saying if you have a 20-kilometer commute, at the end of it, you'll have 50 kilometers of range. Or you'll have gained 50 kilometers of range, maybe a net of 30 more than you had, which is crazy. There are more than 1,700 solar cells built into the exterior, and the car is collecting energy whether it's parked or moving, which is different.
Yeah.
And the thing is ridiculously light, of course. It's 550 kilograms. Roughly 1/4 the weight of many similarly sized cars. So they've obviously, when you're making a solar powered car, you want to make it very light. The students also added regenerative braking, which is nice to see. That's when you hit your brakes, it'll juice up, turn your motor into a generator and charge the battery as you're braking. Use that kinetic energy. Smart torque distribution and an optimized drivetrain to squeeze as much efficiency as possible out of the vehicle. They model the car in places including South Carolina, Frankfurt, Germany, Madrid, and Mumbai. So they've been taking it around to different places, different solar exposure type places. And a typical 20-kilometer commute could actually generate enough excess solar energy to add 50 kilometers of range. It sounds like it's not net 30, that it's net 50, but BMW and Germany's Fraunhofer, a solar research institute, helped with the project, which will continue towards a 2027 Consumer Electronics Show appearance. Perhaps they'll be modeling it there. But right now, it's just a fun prototype. It's not something that we'll all be driving, but it's interesting. Solar panels get better, solar cells get better, and so do technology.
It sounds like they've invented a perpetual motion machine, basically.
As long as the sun is shining, I suppose, maybe.
Not nighttime, I guess. But all right, from Canary Media, a milk source heat pump. This is a lot of fun. Barber's Farmhouse Cheesemakers has operated from the rolling green pastures of southwest England since 1833. These people know how to make cheese. They're the oldest cheddar cheese maker, and Canary Media has this wonderful story. In 2024, they started using new ultra-efficient heat pumps from Archaea Energy, a company in the UK, and the devices quickly cool the milk to keep it fresh while simultaneously heating the water used in milking operations, replacing conventional chillers and electric resistance heaters. So they've cut their electricity use in half. The heat pumps are saving barbers about $94,000 per year. At the same time, their carbon pollution has been cut by nearly 66 tons per year. And the Barber family has now had these heat pumps installed at 3 of its 7 milking parlors. I guess they call them milking parlors, which is, I didn't know that term before. It's like the scene from Clockwork Orange where they go to the milk parlor, the milk bar. But in any case, these are all electric industrial heat pumps which move the heat rather than generating it. If you know from listening to the show, they're an ideal fit for decarbonizing food production because a lot of the processes in food production need only low or medium temperatures that can be readily provided by heat pumps and is more difficult perhaps if you have to go to very, very high temperatures. It's a bit of an unfamiliar technology and there is a bit of a cost up front, but rising electricity costs in the UK's are making companies wary about energy costs going forward. So there's a chance that these things could take off. We know that heat pumps fall into 3 categories: air source, ground source, and water source. So this one is new. This is a milk source heat pump, which is kind of what they're calling it. Milk comes out of the cow warm. Like there's always heat associated with the milk when it comes out of the cow.
And you want to cool it.
And you want to cool it to keep it fresh. And then you can take that heat and move it somewhere else using a heat pump. This is wonderful stuff because they can chill the milk down to 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just above freezing basically. And then they need to bring the other water up to about 198 Fahrenheit or close to a boil. And they can do that with these heat pumps. They say the payback is less than 2 years on these systems. Like they're saving so much on electricity, just a 2-year payback, which is fantastic. So this company, Archaea, they started selling these heat pumps in 2024. They've installed 27 to date. They're expecting to do 34 more of them by the end of the year. This is a small company, but the UK is home to nearly 7,000 dairy farms. And so there's a huge potential market here in the UK. And they have often in the past used heat recovery systems in the dairy industry. So they have been harvesting the heat for a while now, but then if it's not a heat pump, you still need, supplementary boilers that run either on gas or electricity to boil the water. So this is a, ultimately simpler and better approach than, using the heat recovery systems that they've used in the past.
So heat pumps transfer heat, whether it's transferring it out of your fridge and into your room, whether it's taking it out of your bedroom and into the outdoors for an air conditioner that's in the window. This is taking the heat out of the milk, which you have to do anyway. Yeah. And it's using that heat, instead of like wasting it into the air, they're using that heat to heat fluids for other parts of their operation that they need heat for. And the payback of 2 years makes it very viable for business. Yeah. 2-year payback is irresistible.
And it's super fun to me that they've been making cheese since 1833, and yet the new technology can still be adapted and, it doesn't affect the cheese in any way. Like they can still make the cheese the same way they did in 1833, but they can do it with energy efficiency.
Well, I love it when old world industry adapts modern things. We've seen that a few times on this show.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to contact us, and please do, the Clean Energy Show will hear your voice about anything you have to say. So cleanenergyshow@gmail.com. And you can also leave us a voicemail online at speakpipe.com/Clean Energy Show.
From PV Magazine, the Philippines is reducing the red tape associated with solar panel installations, another favorite topic here on the show. The Philippines has streamlined their guidelines governing the use of microsolar and zero export solar systems. So these PV systems no longer require certificates of compliance, while plug-and-play solar less than a kilowatt in size is now exempt from building permits. The updated guidelines for solar systems, these are for systems that are entirely self-consumption. So they can be grid-connected systems, but they're the type of grid-connected systems that don't actually put energy back to the grid, if that makes any sense. So this is the smaller side of solar where they're reducing the red tape. So microsystems up to a kilowatt in size and microinverters up to 0.8 kilowatts. And the larger solar systems, as long as there's zero export, will still be required to secure building permits. The update also exempts them from securing the certificate of compliance from the Energy Regulatory Commission. So basically, this just means that the Philippines is making it easier for people to put up solar. They have been one of the countries hardest hit by skyrocketing energy prices, amongst the highest in Southeast Asia. So the Philippines imported 4 gigawatts of Chinese solar panels just over the first 4 months of this year, and another 3 gigawatts are already on the way. So they're looking at 10 to 12 gigawatts of solar panels imported from China this year in the Philippines, which is always good news.
Gigawatt sounds like a lot, and it is. It's a lot of electricity. So basically, if you get rid of the soft costs for solar, and there's permitting and there's time that has to go by, sometimes you have to get building plans. The fact is that installing residential solar in the United States is 3 times the cost of Australia. And it's not because the panels necessarily are that much more expensive. It's the red tape. So if you can get rid of the red tape, and I wish more of this was going on. I'm glad to see it, but we need more of this around the world because I guess rooftop solar is probably a pretty good thing now. It's not bugging people in rural places, and it's using existing, it's distributing it. It's distributed power, so you don't have to build power lines necessarily. You have the power where it's used, and that is a good thing. Coming up next, you may be surprised to hear, it's the lightning round. It's time for the lightning round.
The lightning round is a fast-paced look at the latest headlines in climate, clean energy, and transportation.
Well, you don't watch the news, Brian, but I'll tell you this. Over 1 million people have been relocated in China in advance of anticipated flooding. They're getting a third of their year's rainfall in one fell swoop. A weather station in central Shanghai recorded nearly 313 millimeters of rain in 24 hours. To 7 a.m. on Monday, its highest 24-hour rainfall in more than 150 years of records. And another station in the city recorded nearly 400 millimeters, says The Guardian. July was the hottest month ever recorded in the United States. Congratulations, United States. Wait till you see next July. It's going to be a doozy after that El Nino record-breaking current changes our weather pattern. We'll see, but it's... the forest fires are bad now in, practically everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere and a little bit in Africa. But what happens if we get a low snowfall, warm winter?
Yeah.
It's going to be terrible next year. Get your air purifiers now, like Brian is, and get ready. An oil giant in China, a gas retailer, National One there in China, is ripping out its gas pumps to install BYD's 1,500 kilowatt flash chargers. Those are chargers that can charge an EV from 10 to 70% in 5 minutes and 10 to 97% in 9 minutes. Those are really fast chargers that have batteries backing them up.
Amazing. And you don't normally even need to charge that much at a fast charger, so you might only be there for 2 minutes.
Sure, that is true. A lot of people don't realize that. There were 3 months in a row where solar was the single largest source of electricity in the European Union. May, it was 23.5%. In June, it was 25%. In July, it was 24.9%. And all fossil fuels, if you combine them all, combined were just slightly higher than that at 25%. So even if you combine them all and said they were one source, they would still be about the same. So that is getting larger every year, obviously, and we like to see that. Advanced sodium-ion batteries, that is like lithium batteries, but with sodium instead of lithium. They're cheaper, maybe not as much range for cars. The prototypes are now approaching 200 watt-hours per kilogram, which is up from 175. So they're improving sodium-ion batteries, even though they're brand new. And that's what the kind of trends we've been seeing here on the show, and that means a lot for a cleaner world when that happens. An international team of scientists has reviewed recent advances in sodium-ion battery components, highlighting their potential. India's renewables and nuclear combined passed 300 gigawatts. That's a milestone, and are 54% now of India's generation capacity, which is good to hear. Because, when we started the show, I thought India is going to be a laggard. It's going to take a long time, and they got filthy air. An American oil company connected to Donald J. Trump is preparing to sink wells in remote Greenland, despite not having received permission from the local authorities. That's the kind of world we're currently living in. Hopefully that changes. India's Minister of New and Renewable Energy says the country's rooftop solar program has commissioned 14.8 gigawatts of rooftop solar capacity across, 5 million households.
Wow.
Which, in India, not a lot. But still, not percentage-wise, that is a good start. And if that keeps going, and I know it will, India's going to have some cleaner air out there. If you're like me, you might be wondering how reliable Chinese electric cars are. Well, J.D. Power did a survey in China to see what consumers are saying. And this isn't the first year they've done this, but this year they've highlighted Li Auto, which we don't talk about a lot about on the show. Li Auto is one of the Chinese automakers, ranked highest among mass market brands at 793 out of about 1,000 points. Also defending its 25 last year title of winning as well. And the Beijing-based automaker scored 788 points, so they're a little higher this year. Geely's Zeekr brand followed at 789 points, just behind, and XPeng was third. BYD was not mentioned in the top. We talk about them so much, but its luxury brand was, when they did the luxury brands, BYD as a luxury brand that scored well. Among owners reporting problems, 85.5% described non-fault issues such as operational difficulty or complexity. So these high-tech cars, which the automakers say everyone wants, well, not everybody in China is fully proficient with it.
Every once in a while, it is confusing to use technology. That's no big surprise to anyone.
So this is a gap the firm framed as a contradiction between the sophistication of smart features and user proficiency, says electricvehicles.com. Finally this week, this is an Australia update. They're doing things really good in Australia.
Yeah.
Well, let's summarize and update. Australia's July 2026 EV sales, sit down for this one, were triple compared to July last year.
Wow.
Now, the Strait of Hormuz deal with raising gas prices spurred EV activity, but that's a bit extreme.
When there's EVs available and the gas prices are going up, people tend to buy them.
My son sent me a text this morning saying that gas prices were $1.40 a liter and I should buy a gas car. He's joking. He's egging me on because he knows I love EVs.
And that's down from what it was.
It is way down from what it was. It was approaching $2. But the Hormuz deal is still going on. So why is gas prices low? OPEC's falling apart. China has had lots of reserves, so they didn't need to use it. But China is electrifying, and so are other parts of the world. And I don't think people realize how far gas prices, or oil prices rather, are going to drop after this dust settles, and I think it will. So I strongly predict that, barring, no one's going to do conflict anymore. This was such a disaster in the Middle East. Plug-in EVs were 32.1% of sales in Australia, and full battery electric cars were 22.3%. Yeah, the plug-in EVs got a 9.8% market share. And in Australia, you save about $3,000 a year if you buy an EV on par, on average. This includes plug-in hybrids as well. And 4.3 million, about 38% of Australian homes have solar. 38%.
Yeah.
I remember when it hit 25%, I thought, okay, well, we're done. 38% of that, just because electricity is expensive, it's really easy and cheap to get solar on your roof. There's a lot of people who can put it on there and know what they're doing. It's amazing. I mean, how far do you think that will go, Brian? Like, do you think it'll hit 50% ever? I think it might.
I think 50% is absolutely doable for sure. All right, you can find the Clean Energy Show on social media apps like TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky as Clean Energy Pod. That email again, cleanenergyshow@gmail.com. And remember, as always, hit the follow or subscribe button to get new episodes every week.
And remember to join our Clean Energy Patreon as a free or paying member, patreon.com/cleanenergypod. That's where we post lots of stuff. And I'll be going out of the show here with a clip of John Valiant talking that I have on our Patreon page, a full interview with him on his BBC after we say goodbye. And I also want to thank our Patreon Clean Club executive members, Tiernan, Brent Rowley, and Green Bastard. Thank you for supporting us at a high level. And thank you to all for supporting our podcast. We'll see you on our Patreon. Our Patreon supporters, we're going to probably do a Patreon the same time we do a show. So we're going to do like a short summer show next week and a regular sized bonus episode at the same time, because Brian is a jet setter and he's got all kinds of things going on. And I've got limited health. So I've been sort of limited to and had to cancel last week when we were going to record the bonus episode. But it is coming for Clean Club Plus subscribers on our Patreon. That's what we do as a bonus for you, as a perk. So I'll be updating my health on the next bonus podcast and talk about how I found a fast food item to give me protein in a pinch and still fit in perfectly in my new small stomach. So we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, clip from John Valiant coming up, and we'll see you next week.
You're dealing with walls of heat, radiant heat, which moves at the speed of light, by the way, and is hitting temperatures close to 500 Celsius. Oof. So what's happening then is even before the fire gets there, the heat is desiccating everything in front of it. So every leafy tree, every poplar and aspen that normally would be full of water, when it's hit with 500 Celsius temperatures, it desiccates instantly. So it turns instantly into matchstick firewood.